Right, Melanie Roussell, DNC spokesperson, thanks for speaking with the uptake. So we're here at the DNC War Room in Des Moines, and you guys are clearly going after Romney, assuming that he's the front runner. I suppose assuming that he'll be the one to oppose President Obama. Why that decision, and how are you doing it?
Well, Mitt Romney has really made himself the heir apparent. He is campaigning as though he is the presumptive nominee. He is attacking President Obama every time he opens his mouth on every stage, at every appearance, and it's our job to respond to those attacks. And so we are simply responding to Mitt Romney's constant attacks on the president and holding him accountable for his record, which is one thing he doesn't want to talk about. His jobs record as being 47th of 50th out of job creation, being a corporate buyout specialist and laying off workers like Randy Johnson, who's here in Des Moines with us. So we're really taking the time to both defend the president's record and talk about his accomplishments, but also to hold Mitt Romney accountable for the record he doesn't want voters to know about.
And in the event that Ron Paul or Rick Santorum wins in Iowa tomorrow, and maybe Romney also does not win in New Hampshire next week, how does the DNC strategy change?
Well, all the candidates are the same. They're essentially saying the same thing. They're cut from the same extreme far-right cloth, and they're fighting to be more extreme. Whoever can say the most extreme thing, essentially, is how they are approaching the campaign. And so I think our message will continue. We'll continue to talk about the president's accomplishments and really we'll lay out the choice that American voters have between the president, who's fighting every day for middle-class Americans. He fought to extend the payroll tax cut extension and got that extended. That's $1,500 in the pockets of many Americans. That's what Mitt Romney said was a temporary little Band-Aid. And the Republican candidates, if Mitt Romney or whoever may come out of Iowa, fighting to be the most extreme, wanting to recover the economy on the backs of middle-class Americans, at the expense of middle-class Americans, providing more tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires while leaving the rest of us behind. So I think it's a clear-cut choice that voters will have between the field of candidates, whoever comes out of it.
In Romney and much of the Republican message is that the private sector is far superior to the public sector and to government at creating jobs and benefiting American citizens. What might be misconstrued? What might the average American not really understand about that?
Well, I think the story Randy Johnson has told here is a really good example. It puts a real human face on what that type of approach means. Putting profits before people is what Randy has said, and I think his experience is not unique. There were hundreds of other workers laid off at his plant, and at others that suffered at the hand of a profits before people approach. And I think middle class that sort of story resonates with middle-class Americans who are suffering at this time while the president is working to create jobs and, push the American Jobs Act and was rejected by Republicans in Congress. That type of response to a plan that will create and maintain jobs like teachers and firefighters. Middle-class Americans see what's happening, and I think on Election Day next year they'll respond appropriately.
It seems like this past year the Occupy movement created a golden opportunity for the kind of the populist progressive movement, talking about economic inequality and such. Something the Democrats could run with hypothetically. Although of course we've seen examples earlier today. Right, there was a die-in downstairs where the occupiers were also somewhat critical of President Obama. I mean, is it playing with fire?
Is the Occupy movement playing with fire, or?
Yeah.
Well, I don't really have a comment on the Occupy movement. I'll say the president is, again, the one who's fighting for middle-class Americans, and I think the message that Democrats have been pushing with policy examples like extending the payroll tax cut, those are the type of policies that really resonate with people who I think would associate with the message of the 99%. But I don't have any comment on the Occupy movement.
Sure. I mean, it seems like we've heard President Obama, use some of the rhetoric of the movement. For example, the 99% and the 1%. I mean, it seems like it seems like he would be wise to to use some of it, though not to necessarily associate the party with the movement.
Well, I think for the president, it's not just the 99% rhetoric. It's been his mission in office to fight on behalf of middle-class Americans. So that's part of his agenda. That's part of the administration's legislative agenda. That's what we fought for in health care reform. That's what we fought for with the American Jobs Act. Mm-hmm. So that's always been part of his platform. That's what he campaigned on in 2008. So certainly that is going to continue to be part of his stump speech.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I mean, Mitt Romney's record as kind of a corporate job killer, as we've seen with Randy's story, it puts a bullseye on him for the Democratic Party. But also, I would think his kind of flip-floppy record. I mean, the fact that his politics have changed since he was in Massachusetts. I suppose that's a big bullseye as well, strategically.
Well, absolutely. It's something we've talked about a great deal. It's something he's had to deal with over the course of his 17-year political career. Every time he runs for office, it's something that comes up, because when he ran for office, when he ran for governor in Massachusetts, when he ran for Senate, he was pro-life. He said that he has flip-flopped on gun policy. He's flip-flopped on immigration. He is now campaigning to be the most extreme person on immigration in presidential candidacy history. Mm-hmm. I cannot think of, he's flip-flopped on the issue of flip-flopping, on whether or not he's done it. I cannot think of an issue or a policy stance on which he has had a consistent position. And I think that's something voters should be wary of. If he can't take a stand, and if there is nothing he believes in, if he essentially has no core. He doesn't take a position unless public opinion is with that position, because all he cares about is being elected. He'll say anything to get elected, and that's something we have said and will continue to say.
I think I read in the New York Times maybe within the last 2 months that what's interesting about the strategy going after Romney as a flip-flopper could perhaps be similar to the strategy that Rove and Bush used in 2004 against John Kerry, which it worked in the sense that they did win that election, that they went after someone and presented him to the American people as a wavering flip-flopper. I mean, can lessons be learned from past Republican victories?
Well, again, this is something that Romney's been dealing with since 1994, right. which long predates that 2004 election. This is something he has done before, continues to do, and that's why I think it goes a little bit further than just being a flip-flopper on issues. It speaks to the core of who he is as a person, that he will not take a position until he puts his finger up in the wind and blows with the political wind. There was also a story this week about, and I can't remember the newspaper, but there was a story this week about him taking his position on abortion and speaking to his church about it, saying that public opinion said he couldn't run as a pro-life candidate, so he had to be pro-choice in order to win. That type of person who will admit that they're making a decision based on public opinion polling instead of a core conviction, I think it speaks to his character, and it's something voters should know and be aware of as they cast their votes. And, of course, people are welcome to make their own decisions, but we're in the business of informing the voter.
Just one last question, if I may, and I appreciate the time. Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz's role in this. I mean, she's obviously a powerful figure in the Democratic Party and a rising figure. She's coming back here tomorrow. What is her main role here in the war room in Des Moines?
Well, she's the DNC chairwoman. She will be continuing this effort here to respond to attacks on the president, and again to talk about Mitt Romney's record, something he is not doing. He's been all over the state in Iowa for the last 4 days, despite having not been here since his campaign started. He's not spent a lot of time here. He claimed he wasn't playing hard in Iowa. Now he's playing to win. His communications director said they expect to win. He has said if he comes in second, that's not good enough. So we fully anticipate he's playing to win, and he should win. If he doesn't, I think that's a massive failure for his campaign. But she's going to continue to talk about that. She's going to talk about his jobs record, talk about his record as a corporate buyout specialist, and again, respond to what we anticipate are going to be more attacks on the president.
Will she then be in New Hampshire as well and the other primary and caucus states?
We're still finalizing those plans, but we will have a presence, definitely.